Hello friends, I am Dr. J.B. Kamble, Assistant Professor of Soil and Water Engineering, College of Agriculture, Bhimrayangudi, presenting lecture number 10 on topics erosion control measures. In particularly, we are discussing here engineering measures that is focusing on bunding and terracing. Here we'll go what is mean by erosion control measures, what are the erosion control measures are there that we're going to see one by one. Here in introduction we'll see how the erosion takes place. Erosion takes place both due to natural causes and anthropogenic factors. It is adopted to reduce or minimize the intensity of a foresaid adverse effect. There are some basic principles underlying this approach is to cause a reduction in the effect of runoff velocity and thereby to reduce the soil erosion. Here there are so many mechanical measures as well as vegetative measures are there to control the erosion. We'll see here mechanical measures, particularly engineering measures and vegetative measures. Mechanical and vegetative measures particularly done on agricultural land, and they are employed on the milder slope for conservation of soil by farming across the slope of the land. Here, wherever the steeper slopes will be there, so we are going for the mechanical measures such as bunding, terracing, other measures. Other measures constructed to reduce the effect of slope on the runoff velocity. Here we'll go one by one different erosion control measures. First one we'll see vegetative practices. Under vegetative practices we'll see contouring. So whenever we are taking this measure, in this measure the crops will be grown on the slope or along the contour, or on the contour we are growing the crops. In this picture you can see, so it is grown on the contour. So these are the contours and slope is there towards this side, and it is showing the crops are grown on the contour lines. So here whatever the crops we are growing, it has to be grown on the or in the form of strips. So here you can see in this picture, so crops it is grown in the strip. So here on the strip, that is again on the contour lines. So these are the contours on that the crops has been grown in the strip form. Then next type of contour is there, that is the field strip cropping. So here you can see these are the strips are made to grow the crops, and this is made to control the soil erosion. Here alternative crops will be taken. So here you can see in this photograph, so corn is there, then we are having other crop, that is alfalfa. So means we have to do the buffer. So whatever the soil loss will be there or erosion will be there from this land can be controlled by doing buffer strip cropping. Next vegetative control measures, so that is coming under various tillage operations which we are perform on the agricultural land. Here first we'll go for the minimum tillage. So without disturbing much soil, we can grow the crops and we can save the soil from the soil erosion. Then no tillage. So here we are not using any kind of tillage practices. So without doing tillage, just we have to sow the seeds or we have to throw the seeds and we have to grow the crops. Then next type of tillage, that is strip tillage. In strips grow the crops. Then next type of erosion control measure, that is mulching. In this photograph we can say conserving the moisture here, and we are adopting this vegetative practice in to conserve the soil as well as to conserve the water. For both purpose we are using it. Then the mechanical practices or engineering practices to control the soil erosion or to control the erosion, that we're going to discuss one by one. We'll see here. First one, terracing. So terracing, these are the structures which are made on the terrace, and this is a photograph of Ranikhet. It is there in Uttarakhand. The photo is taken from that. This I have brought it from this website, and these are the terracing structures. So they are using to cultivate the crops or to take the crops on slopy lands. Terracing. We'll see what is terracing. Terracing, actually, a terrace is an earth embankment constructed across the slope to control runoff and to minimize the soil erosion. So these are the two purposes: to control runoff and minimize the soil erosion. A terrace acts as an intercept to land slope and divides the sloping land surface into horizontal or mildly sloping strips of small bits. It has been found that soil loss is proportional to the square root of length of slope. That is, by shortening the length of run, soil erosion is reduced. Terrace agriculture is a common technique used to cultivate the land in the steeply sloping terrain of the hills in the India and other parts of the Asia. It is also easier to plow, sow and harvest on the level surface than on a steep slope. So we'll see the classification of terraces one by one. We'll see here broad-based terrace and bench terrace. These are the two subclasses of terraces. Again, broad-based terrace will be classified into graded. In other words, it's called level channel type terrace, and level or absorption or ridge type terraces. Then bench terrace classified into leveled and tabletop terrace, then sloping outward terrace, sloping inward terrace, Puerto Rican terrace. These are the four types of bench terrace, and we are having subclasses for the graded terraces. First one with a proper channel, and second one without proper channel. We'll see one by one what is that classes. First we'll go for the broad-based terrace. Broad-based terrace, it is developed by the Western countries, particularly USA, and it is developed by the farmers from that countries. So these terraces consist of ridge. So ridge, you can see ridge, which is a fairly broad based. So here you can see it is having a broad base. Here also you can see it is having a broad base. This also having broad base. So it is having a fairly broad base and flatter slope. So this side it is having flatter slope. This side also it is having flatter slope, so that machinery can easily pass over the ridge. So when we are taking the crops, cultivate our land, the machinery has to be passed from upside to the downside or from the downside to the upside. On these types of terraces, even ridge area is cultivated. So this ridge area also we can cultivate here. So here in this type of terraces, no land is lost due to agricultural operations and because of terracing. So here in this figure you can see this is a triangular design of terracing. This is a broad base with the channel slope. Here this is a slopy land. On this, so we have cut some soil and we have fill in this area, and this is become a ridge of it. So on this slopy land, this is the triangular design for it. In this side the soil has been cut it and fill in this location. It has given some slope. Then we'll move towards next, that broad based terraces which we have discussed here. Again it is classified or subclassified into two groups. First one graded terraces and second one level terraces. So these graded terraces or drainage terraces are constructed usually in very high rainfall region or very high rainfall areas where the rainfall is more than 600 mm, where the excess runoff needs to be removed quickly, where the region where the excess quantity of runoff which will be available because of high rainfall, so it has to be removed quickly and it has to be take out safely to protect the crop from waterlogging. So these graded broad-based terrace classified into two groups: graded terrace without proper channel, graded terrace with proper channel. So we'll see first graded broad-based terrace, and that is without proper channel. So here, so in this case, the whole strip of the terrace is used as a channel for conveyance of the runoff to the outlet. Then these type of terraces adopted where excess runoff is generated is low and water can be allowed more time to get absorbed in the soil, increasing the soil moisture. Then we are having next type of terrace or next type of broad-based terrace, that is a graded terrace with proper channel. In this terrace, the purpose of this terrace is to remove excess runoff with low velocity so as to minimize the soil erosion. In this type of terrace also, the runoff velocity is equal to non-erosive velocity. The channels are shallow and wide with low gradient. Such type of terraces are constructed on land slope of 5 to 15%. The channel grade is provided from 0.1 to 0.6% and 0.4% is most commonly used grade in these graded terraces with the proper channel. Then we'll see next type of terraces, that is a level terraces. These level or ridge terraces are classified into two subtypes. One is a wide based, another is a narrow based, depending upon the width of the ridge and channel. Here these narrow based terraces have width in 1.2 to 2.5 meter and they are not suitable for the mechanized cultivation. And the narrow based terraces are popular in India and are called contour bunds. Then we are having next type of terrace, that is a bench terrace. So these bench terraces are constructed to reduce the slope of hillsides, to reduce runoff flow velocity and thus to prevent soil erosion. In hill areas, bench terraces are extensively used as agricultural plots, but their construction is costly. These bench terraces are constructed on hillsides which has a gradient in the range of 15 to 30% or more, and land surface has a medium to high degree of soil erosion. In this case we are going for the bench terraces. So here you can see the bench terraces. So during the construction of such type of terraces, it is assumed that the excavated earth from upper half of the terrace is deposited on the lower half of the terrace. So here excavated upper half or excavated earth from the upper side, it will be deposited to the lower side. Here also we have excavated the soil from the upper side and it is deposited at the lower side. It implies the cut and fill is equal here. Cut and fill is equal. So this is a terrace or bench terrace. So this is a original slope and we are cutting the soil here and we are filling to the other places and we are making the terraces. So here advantages of bench terraces we will discuss here. So it can effectively control soil and water runoff and erosion, trap sediment in the drainage ditches built along the terraces. It also reduces the slope length. Every 2 to 3 meter of slope length is leveled to the terraces. Also it reduces the running water velocity down the slope. It also improves the soil fertility over the long run. It is having some limitations. What are that limitations? Initially, it disturbs the soil. It reduces the productivity for the first 2 or 3 years. It required intensive labor and investment for construction and maintenance. Needs skill for proper construction. This type of terrace field with the interval slope consume much land. The different types of terraces, which is classified based on the soil, climate and the crops which we are growing in that region. So classes are leveled and tabletop, outward sloping, inward sloping and Puerto Rican. See, all these four classes or subclasses of bench terrace we'll discuss here. First one, leveled and tabletop bench terrace. So this type of bench terraces usually constructed in areas where crops require large quantity of water. Which crop required large quantity of water? Example, like paddy crop. So it required large quantity of water. Such type of crops can be grown on this and in that area where the crops we are taking paddy, so this type of bench terraces are constructed. These type of bench terraces also constructed where rainfall is very high. Also, sufficient irrigation water is available. In that case, this type of bench terraces are constructed. This type of bench terraces, they are not used for lands with slopes more than 6%, but also for lands with slope as mild as 1% to facilitate uniform bonding of water on the field. So here you can see that level bench terraces. This cut and fill of the soil has been made, and it is a completely flat surface. So after cutting this place of the soil, so it will be filled here, and this is a complete flat surface will be generated by cutting the soil and filling the soil to the other places. This is a shoulder bund, so it is used to store the water or to control the water flow towards downside. So here also they have cut the soil and filled it here, and this line which is showing the original slope, the line which is made here, it is showing the original slope. Then we are having next type of bench terrace, and that is a outward sloping bench terrace. So this type of bench terrace usually laid out in areas where depth of soil is not sufficient for the leveling work. Also at deeper cuts, the infertile subsoil is likely to expose to the surfaces, and these type of bench terraces are recommended in areas where rainfall is not very high and soil erosion is not quite significant. So here you can see in this diagram. So this is the original slope of the surface after doing the cut and fill of the soil to this type of terraces. So here shoulder bund, and this is a fill of the soil which is cut from the section, and it is showing that it is outward sloping from the inner side to the outward side. It is showing from inside to the outside. So here inner side to the outward side. Similarly other places. Then we are having next type of bench terrace, that is inward sloping bench terraces. So this is exactly opposite to the outward sloping bench terrace, and this type of bench terraces are constructed in areas with deep permeable soils, and also these are recommended with areas which is having a very high rainfall or heavy rainfall. The subsequent high rate of runoff is released towards the toe end of terrace, and the runoff is safely conveyed to the outlet after allowing enough ponding time for infiltration. Such terraces are quite suitable for potato cultivation. So crops like potato we can take on this type of bench terraces or inward sloping bench terraces. We can grow the potato because they provide very good drainage to the furrow crops. Then we are having next type of bench terrace, that is a pure Torrican type bench terrace. This type of bench terrace also called California type bench terrace, and it is done in the level stages, and it is completely made up of vegetation or different plantations. So we have to plant the vegetation or plants on the contour lines like this. So here, so automatically when we are planting the plants here as a barrier, so the soil which is there at the upside, so it will going to score down and it will be stored here at this side in the different stage. So this is the stage 1. In this stage we are planting the vegetation, and then in mid stage, so it will slightly it will going to cut and it will going to fill the portion which is there at the or at the bottom of the vegetative barriers, and the final stage, so it will be there. So these are the plantation here. Then after discussion of different types of terraces, so we are moving towards next type of erosion control measures, and that is bunding. So these bundings, so they are commonly practiced in India. So we'll see one by one. So what is mean by bunding? First, bunding is an engineering soil conservation measures used for retaining water and creating obstruction to the surface runoff for controlling soil erosion. These bunds are simple earthen embankment of varying length and heights and constructed across the slope. When they are constructed on the contour of the area, they are called as contour bunds. When a grade is provided to them, they are known as graded bunds. These two types of bunds are there. One is a contour bund and another is a graded bund. These major types of bunds are there. Then for bunding, the entire area is divided into several small parts. Thereby, the effective slope length of the area is reduced. The reduction of the slope length causes not only reduction of the soil erosion but also retention of the runoff water in the surrounding area of the bund. Then the bunds are similar to the narrow base terrace but not agricultural practices are done on bunds except at some places where some types of stabilization grasses are planted to protect the bund. Then we'll discuss about different types of bund as I said earlier. First one that is a contour bund and second one that is graded bund. Here what is meant by contour bund? Contour bunds, the bunds which are constructed on the same contour. This type of bunds are recommended for the areas with low rainfall less than 600 mm, agriculture field with permeable soil and having a land slope less than 6%. These type of contour bunds are used in such areas for prevention of soil erosion and conservation of rainwater in the soil for crop use. This type of contour bunds absorb the runoff water stored at the upstream side of the bund. Proper height of the bund is necessary to avoid overtopping during the floods. Here in this type of bunds, to avoid damage, waste or surplus wear is provided on the bunds to dispose of excess water into next bund, and this prevents waterlogging. So here in this diagram you can see the bunds which are constructed here. So here this is a contour bund and this is a slopy land, on it is constructed. Here this is also contour bund, on the contour it is constructed. So this is a field strip where we are growing the crops or we are taking the crops, and this is the ponded water. When there is a heavy rainfall will be there or a sudden rainfall will be there, at the time the water will go to pond here or water will go to store here. So this is a crest. If the excess quantity of water will be there or the large quantity of water if suddenly arise, so at that time so it will be taken away by using this weir, waste weir. So it will come down through this waste weir. Then here also in this you can see how that overflow water will going to move down from this crest weir. So in this diagram you can see, so this is the constructed by using stone packing, and rubble will be there or stones which will be placed at the downside to avoid the sediment flow. They are constructing the rubble fill at the downside. So here this is the crest level, so which is constructed here, the crest level, and this is the top of the bund, and this is the stone packing. These contour bunding can be adopted on all types of permeable soil except for the clay or deep black cotton soils, as these soils have the problem of crack development causing bund failure. Clay soils also has the problem of waterlogging near the bund section, which makes the bund construction infeasible. Then we'll move towards next type of bund, that is graded bund. When grade is provided along the bund for safe disposal of runoff water over the area between two consecutive bunds, they are called graded bund. This type of bunds adopted in case of high or medium annual rainfall, and that is more than 600 mm, and relatively less permeable soil areas. Graded bunds are designed to dispose excess runoff safely from agricultural land. In India, the construction of bund is done by manual labor by using bullock drawn buck scraper, tractor plow, tractor pulled grade terraces, bulldozers and motor graders. In today's class, discuss different types of erosion control measures, includes different agronomic measures and mechanical measures. Under mechanical measures, we have discussed terraces, different types of terraces, and then we have discussed different types of bunding. Thank you, friends.